everyone, my name is Tiffany. I'm from Beijing, China. I go to a private university.
Hello everyone, this is Akshay. I'm from Mumbai, India. I go to a public university.
My name is Fatima, originally from Nigeria. I go to an HBCU, meaning historically black colleges.
My name is Thi Nguyen, and I'm from Vietnam. I go to a community college.
I want to be able to influence the world, and the United States stands out as a pace setter in research. I'm so excited about being here.
In my opinion, US degree is extremely impressive, and that makes studying abroad in the US an excellent choice.
There are many types of institutions in the United States.
I think it's just so unique that there's so many to choose from.
I had to make a major choice between the type of university that I was supposed to attend. The major factor that I considered was the scholarship opportunities that were available and the alumni network.
I've heard so much about the HBCUs as historically black colleges. I chose those because I wanted a school that really represents me.
As a humanities student, I prefer seminars instead of lectures because I find myself better understand the material if we get to discuss it in class. That led into my decision of going to a private university.
I chose a community college to study because most of the community college offer affordable costs, and they often offer a lot of majors you can choose from.
Some of the things I find that are in common between different types of institutions in the US is that the curriculum are more comprehensive.
It is more practical oriented that really helps you get hands-on experience about what you're learning.
Students can benefit from forward-thinking technology and modern facilities.
And I love the diversity, the fact that it's a melting pot for everywhere in the world. And so it's an awesome experience for me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our today's session. Happy Valentine's Day to those who are celebrating it. We are very happy to welcome you to our today's session. And today we have another interesting one. My name is Alina Yakubov, and I'm an Education USA advisor. And as I've said, this month we are coming with interesting webinars about programs that would be interesting to those who are in their research process and they are crafting their application for studies in the US. And today we have a speaker from the Chicago School. We have Brian Murphy, an international student recruiter. Brian, thank you so much for joining our webinar. Even though it was planned to be your colleague, Caci, Brian will join us today. He prepared an interesting presentation that will help you guys to explore how to become a chiropractic doctor in the US. So Brian, I will give you the floor. If you can just introduce yourself, and yeah, we are excited about what is coming.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Alina, and thanks Education USA for having us. My name is Brian Murphy. I work for an educational network of 6 universities, and that network is called the Community Solution. I do primarily work for the psychology school, which is called the Chicago School, but my colleague Caci, who is supposed to be here today, she primarily works with the University of Western States, and that is the university that offers the program that we're going to be discussing today, which is the Doctor of Chiropractic. So today, what we'll be discussing is what chiropractic is, how it compares to a Doctor of Medicine program, and then later on in the presentation, I'll just go into more details about the University of Western States and that program specifically to us. So let me just go to the next slide. All right, so what is a Doctor of Chiropractic? Well, it is a healthcare professional who specializes in diagnosing and treating issues related to musculo or skeletal and nervous systems, especially those affecting the spine. So I'm sure you've seen it before. Anytime someone's been laying down on a board or a flat bed and maybe getting their back cracked, that is pretty much what a Doctor of Chiropractic does. But there's a lot more to it than just working with the spine. Chiropractics take a holistic approach, focusing on how the body's structure impacts their overall health. They treat conditions involving not just the bones, but as I said before, the muscles, nerves, ligaments, and tendons. Now, while chiropractors, they don't prescribe medication or perform surgery, since they do take that holistic approach, they often work alongside other healthcare providers, and they can refer patients to other specialists that may be able to prescribe those medications or do those surgeries. And just like any other major field of medicine, you can have specializations within chiropractic. Some of those could be sports, neurology, orthopedics, pediatrics, or nutrition. Next slide. Oh, sorry, having a bit of an issue here. There we go. All right. So what do chiropractors typically do? Well, they analyze the patient's posture, spine, and reflexes. So they provide neuromusculoskeletal therapy, which involves adjusting the patient's spinal column and other joints by hand. And as I said, they do advise patients on their health and lifestyle issues. So this could be how they exercise, how they stretch, sleeping habits, diet, nutrition, everything that deals with their lifestyle issues. A chiropractor can advise their clients on what is best for them. Next slide. So what is the difference between a doctor of chiropractic and a doctor of medicine? Well, firstly, one of the main differences is the duration and time that it takes to complete a program. So a chiropractic program is typically 3 to 4 years long, and that's after you finish a undergraduate program. So you'll do 4 years of undergrad typically, or 3 to 4 years, depending on your country. And then once you complete undergrad, you'll do another 3 to 4 years of a chiropractic program. Chiropractics typically study anatomy, radiology, kinesiology, and chiropractic care. There are a whole set of national exams that you'll need to take in order to get officially licensed as a chiropractic. Depending on which state you want to practice in, you may need 3, you may need 4. Again, it will vary depending on the state that you want to practice in the US. Chiropractors focus on the spine and joint disorders using hands-on holistic treatments, such as adjustments and heat therapy. And as I said before, they don't prescribe medication or perform surgeries. On the other hand, you have a doctor of medicine. So a lot more schooling is involved. So again, you'll do the 3 to 4 years of undergrad, then you'll complete another 4 years of medical school. And then after that, you'll do the hands-on residency. So that's 3 years of residency at like a hospital or some type of clinical center. And you may even take it a step further depending on your area of study, and you may get specialized. And a specialization within a doctor of medicine can take maybe another 1-2 more years additionally. So, just a small comparison, it takes about 3 to 4 years for chiropractic, where it's closer to about 7 to maybe even 9 more additional years of study for a doctor of medicine. Doctor of medicine, they typically study pathology, medicine, biochemistry, anatomy. I mean, the whole gambit of different specializations within a health science field. They do have specializations as well. Some of those options, as you're well aware, are like cardiology, oncology, or surgery. And doctors of medicine do help diagnose diseases. They can prescribe medications. And if you are specialized in that area, you can perform surgeries. So you can do a little bit more with a doctor of medicine. It's a little bit more diverse, but it does involve a lot more schooling. Next slide. Just some other differences is just in terms of the clinical rotations. So medical school includes different rotations so that you can focus on the different specialties such as surgery, pediatrics, dermatology, orthopedics, etc. Chiropractors can practice immediately after passing licensing exams, whereas medical doctors, as I said before, need to complete years of residency under supervision. So again, it's just an extended period of time for a doctor of medicine. Chiropractors are already specialists in musculoskeletal nervous systems upon graduation, whereas medical doctors will need to continue their education and get specialized. How are they similar though? So there are some similarities, and a lot of this will be, pre-graduate school, while others might be involved within the program. So for example, Both are related to health science undergraduate degree programs. So you may think to yourself that you want to be a doctor of medicine and you take a lot of pre-med courses at the undergraduate level. But if you decide in your undergrad that you want to switch to maybe a doctor of chiropractic, that's no problem. There's a lot of overlap in terms of the prerequisite courses that are needed for both doctoral programs. So a lot of times, if you are a pre-med student at the undergraduate level, you can also be a pre-chiropractic student because there's a lot of similarities in the coursework that you need. Early graduate studies typically cover basic and clinical sciences. Both doctoral programs are regulated by governing bodies, so they all have programmatic accreditation that makes sure that that field abides to certain standards and practices. They do have a shared goal, and that shared goal is prioritizing patient health, wellness, and pain relief. They both take an oath to serve patients ethically and without discrimination. They both require licensure, and licensure typically will be specific to each state, as I said before. And then the first 2 years of chiropractic and medical school are academically similar, with rigorous work in anatomy and a lot of other life science coursework. So those are just some of the similarities between the two types of programs. All right, so how do you become a chiropractic? Well, pretty simple and straightforward, as I've kind of detailed already, is first you need your undergraduate degree, and you want to make sure that for whatever program you're going into, you meet the prerequisite courses. So for example, at the University of Western States, these are some of the courses that we require here, like anatomy, you need a physiology course, chemistry, organic chem, biochem, etc. So you will need to have these courses completed with a C grade or better. And to translate that, that's about a 70% or better for those marks for those classes. After that, once you are eligible to apply and you go through the application process, you'll then actually attend chiropractic school. Again, that's 3 to 4 years long typically. Once you complete some clinical training, that's part of the program, you'll then be able to obtain your license. As I mentioned before, there are a few different board exams that you'll have to take in order to get licensed. And this may vary depending on the country that you live in. So for example, if you do plan to study in the US and then go back to your home country to practice, you may not even need any license at all. Sometimes the degree itself is enough of a credential to begin practicing in your home country. This is something, though, we do advise all international students to look up before they even apply, just so that they know what they'll need to get done in order to practice where they want to live. And then the final step here is specializations. So as I mentioned in one of the earlier slides, you can specialize in certain areas of chiropractic. So if you wish to do so, that's just an extra step that gets added to that process. So what are some key differentiators in terms of just chiropractic clinical rotations, right? So how is it going to be slightly different than your normal doctor of medicine? Well, they focus a lot on the clinical and communication skills when you're doing your practicums, a lot of interactive lectures, and it's typically based on real life situations. So a lot of the case studies that you're doing are real case studies that they're pulling from academic research that's been done. Typically, these are all going to be in small group sizes as well, which is great. So you get a lot of one-on-one time with those supervisors and those clinicians that are helping you learn the certain skills and processes to be a chiropractic. And there's about 5 quarter-long clinical internships for courses. That's going to be a little bit different than, say, Doctor of Medicine, which involves a little bit more. But again, a lot of hands-on work to get you prepared for your career. All right, so now just a little bit about University of Western States. So here are some highlights. We were founded in 1904. We are the second oldest chiropractic program in the world. Okay, so very well known, especially within the area of Portland, Oregon. We take a systems holistic approach to healthcare, valuing everybody as well as the practitioners in the field. Just like with a lot of other places, we do evidence-informed curriculum. As I was saying before, a lot of case studies that we use are real life case studies that our students are going to practice with. We are fully accredited by the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities and the Counselor of Chiropractic Education as well. So that is something that you're gonna want to look into. Is there is school accreditation, so as the whole university abiding by certain standards and practices, and then some programs even have additional programmatic accreditation. So at the University of Western States, we do have both. And again, that programmatic is called Council on Chiropractic Education. If you are choosing any of the many schools that offer this type of program, make sure they do have that extra programmatic accreditation. That is important. And I will be talking about this later, but we do have some scholarships available for incoming students. So a little bit just about Portland, Oregon. That is where our university is located. It is right in the heart of downtown Portland. Oregon itself is located in the northwest of the United States, so relatively close to Canada, also close to California as well. So it's a beautiful area if you're really outdoorsy, like to hike, fish, just be outside in general. Portland is a wonderful place. Also have a great food and music scene there. So there's always a lot to do outside of the academics, because trust me, although you're going to want to study and focus on your school, you will want to take a break and enjoy yourself. And Portland is a wonderful, fantastic place to live. So just some basic resources that are available to our students. We have academic coaching, international student resources, and a whole international office that is there to support you. We have student clubs, peer mentorship programs. We have different health services. So for example, if you're getting stressed or having any anxiety, we do have some counseling sessions that you can attend. There's just general advising about life skills and how to manage the workload that you'll be taking on, especially at the doctoral level. And then we even have for international students any type of finance and legal consultations when regarding your visa or anything related to your visa, really. Of course, if you do have any disabilities or any special accommodations that are needed, UWS does have accessibility services to make sure that your education is smooth and easy for any type of situation. Just some additional benefits. So small class sizes, typically 10 to 15 students, pretty close-knit community that is very diverse. We have a lot of international students on campus. There's plenty of networking opportunities with faculty and classmates. And a lot of our alumni network is actually quite local to UWS. But as I mentioned, we have plenty of international students, especially from Canada. So no matter where you go in the world, you may find yourself a UWS graduate within the field of chiropractic. Last, I do want to just point out in terms of small class sizes, the cohorts themselves are actually quite large, which I think is a benefit because it does allow for more networking opportunities and allowing to build that larger alumni network. In the fall intake, we take about 120 students. In the winter or spring intake, we have about 50 students that we take in. So about 200 per year, and that will be added to the alumni network each year. So just some long-term impacts as an international student, right? So there's plenty of CPT and OPT opportunities within our Doctor of Chiropractic program. What that means is that there's curriculum practice training. So a lot of times you'll be doing working in our labs at first to practice your skills. Then you'll be working at a local site, in Portland, most likely. And then even at the end of the program, the final 3 quarters of the program, quarter 10, 11, and 12, you can actually even do some of your internships from your home country. I know for Canadian students, a lot of the students tend to, since that's where they're going to want to practice is in Canada, is they'll go back home to their hometown and get a clinical site there for their internship, in which case you can just do your courses remotely online. Another great thing about our DC program is that it is STEM eligible. By the end of the 5th quarter, you essentially earn a bachelor's in biology. And because of that, it makes it STEM OPT eligible, meaning that you'll get 36 months of working eligibility in the US upon graduating. Yeah, I think that covers everything there. As I was saying, just different employment opportunities. So this is in general, not just for University of Western States, but any international student will be eligible to work on campus according to the visa regulations of an F1 student. So you're going to be allowed to work up to 20 hours per week when school is in session. So while you're taking classes, you can work up to 20 hours per week on campus. You can work up to 40 hours per week if it's during a holiday break or like a summer session. Okay. Positions that you can get typically are going to be unrelated to your program of study, which is totally fine. But again, it's just a way to make some extra money on the side. Some examples could be like a student ambassador. You can do some tutoring, be an administrative assistant, maybe work in the library, something of that nature. And then just in general for the field of chiropractic, a quick stat from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics is that they are expecting about a 9% job growth within the field in the U.S. over the next 10 years. So plenty of opportunities to get jobs as the field is growing. So that's a video, but we don't have too much time for that, so I'll just skip right through that. So again, just more about our Doctor of Chiropractic. What we focus on is sound critical thinking and clinical reasoning, and the ability to support diagnosis and therapeutic skills. Right, so making sure our students are career ready once they graduate. It is a 3 to 4 year program, 12 quarter semesters. As I mentioned before, you do earn a bachelor's in biology by the end of that 5th quarter. And in the state of Oregon in general, they have the second broadest scope of practice, meaning that there are specializations or different emphases that you can take within the program, like midwife, nutrition, surgery, and physiotherapy. So now one of the most important things that students always ask us is financial aid or support or scholarships. So at the University of Western State, we do offer some scholarships. We have a 20% tuition scholarship for all of our international students. When you are first applying and you are accepted, the way that we determine if a student gets that 20% scholarship is based on 3 main factors. We look at your professional experience, we look at your previous academic performance, as well as any volunteer work that you might have done. After you begin school, if you had earned that scholarship to begin with, you then must maintain a 3.0 GPA each term in order to get that scholarship applied. Okay. For other schools and universities, they may have different type of scholarship models. So I definitely advise you to speak to those admission representatives at those schools and find out what the scholarship opportunities are. Some schools may offer larger scholarships. Some may not offer any for international students. It really just depends. So you definitely are going to want to investigate a little bit further to hopefully save yourself some money. Next up is just information about the estimated cost for 1 year of study in the US. And that is important because for your visa, in order to get granted a visa, you do need to show that you can support yourself financially for 1 full year of study. So this is a relatively or a general cost breakdown for what that looks like. So the tuitions and fees for 1 year are going to be about $36,000. Living expenses are estimated to be about $14,000. Books and supplies, $2,000. And then the scholarship, which is getting deducted, if you were to get that, you'd get about $7,000 off of that total cost. So that means you need to show a bank statement of about $45,000 to the visa officer when you go in for your appointment. If you don't have that, it will show that you don't have the funding to support yourself, and then you won't get your visa accepted, most likely. So this is just a general idea about what that looks like. Obviously, this will vary depending on each school that you apply to. So this is just based on our tuition cost. If you were to apply to a different university and get accepted there, if their tuition rate is a little bit higher, then this estimated cost is going to be higher as well. Oh, and if you do have any dependents, such as spouses or children that will be coming to the U.S. with you, you do need to add an additional $4,000 to $5,000 per dependent to that estimated cost. Next is just general application deadlines. So specifically, we'll be looking at DC, which is the Doctor of Chiropractic. As I mentioned, we have 2 intakes. We do a fall and a winter or a spring, however you'd want to look at it. But for the fall intake, the deadline is going to be August 23rd. For the winter intake, it is November 22nd. And we do a rolling admissions basis. So it's different from most schools. A lot of schools have a deadline to apply, and then they review everybody at the same time. The University of Western States, we do it a little differently. Once you submit all of your documents, we will begin an individual review right in that moment. So we won't make you wait for everyone else to submit their applications. We'll do it as the applications come in. Again, each university is different, so you're going to want to ask them what their admissions policy is and how they go about conducting the evaluations. Finally, so what is needed to apply? So there are typically application fees. For us at University of Western States, that's going to be about $50. However, great news for everybody here that has attended. It will be waived if you attend any of the EdUSA sessions. And just let us know that you attended it. Next, we will need your bachelor's transcripts, or really any degree that you've completed. We will need those transcripts. And if those are degrees that are received outside of the US, we will need what's called a course-by-course evaluation. Essentially, all that is, it's a third-party company that converts the grading system from your home country grading into the US grading system. This makes it easier for the faculty to understand the numbers and grades that they're looking at and appropriately evaluate our students, or our applicants, I'm sorry. We do recommend a specific provider, that is the International Education Evaluation Company. Only reason being is that they do offer our students a small discount. So the cost is about $145 for that course-by-course evaluation if you use them. However, you can choose anybody that is on NACIS.org. There are a bunch of different evaluating companies. World Education Services is another popular one, as well as Spantran. Next is just proof of English. So if English is not your first language, you will need to show a certain level of English proficiency. The next slide I have goes over the requirements for the language exams for that. So I'll hold off on that for a second. Next is a resume and CV. As I mentioned before, part of the scholarship evaluation is determining your professional experience that you've had, academic performance, and any volunteer work. So please include those things in your resume. That's the only way that we'll be able to properly evaluate a applicant on that. Next is a personal statement or an essay. So you will need to submit a personal statement explaining your motivation, why you're interested in our program, in our school, and where you see yourself as a clinician in the future. And those essays are typically going to be anywhere from about 500 to 750 words. Next is a potential interview. So typically for the DC program, we don't require it. But if a student is, on the fringe of acceptance, or, we're just not entirely sure, we may invite you for an interview. As an international student, this can be done via Zoom or another online platform. Finally, and I think most important, is the GRE and GMAT are not required for the application. Okay. However, if your GPA does fall below a 3.0, you may want to submit it to just enhance or to improve upon your application. Because typically we do want to see a 3.0 GPA or higher. If it is below, we still consider all applicants. We still look at letters of recommendations. We still look at the essay. We still look at your resume, but it is preferred to have a 3.0. So by completing one of those exams, if you fall below that grade point average, it can only help you out. And again, for other universities and other schools, this process may be different. They may require more documents. They may require less. They may have a higher or lower GPA. That's why you should definitely reach out to your admission representative at that school. So back to the English language proficiency. So we at University of Western States accept a few different exams here. We have TOEFL, IELTS, and Duolingo are the most popular. The scores that you will need are an 89 for TOEFL. For the IELTS, it's 6.5, and for Duolingo, it's 120. So this is very important because we want to make sure that you are understanding the material in the classroom. I do suggest Duolingo as a preferred choice just because it's a little bit easier in terms of their online modality to take the exam. And I believe you have about 3 or 4 tries to take it. So if you happen to fall below it, you're able to retake that exam. And yeah, that is about everything. I do see some questions in the chat, so we're about to open it up. But before I do that, I do just want to say that this is our email. So if you do have any additional questions that you think of later or that we don't get to address here today, feel free to send us an email. We'll be happy to set up a one-on-one consultation with you, or simply just reply to those questions via email. That is a link to our website. We do have other programs outside of a Doctor of Chiropractic. So if there are other areas within health sciences that you're interested in, please check out our programs page. And then, of course, we have our WhatsApp number there. So you could always reach us there if you want to get in contact with us a little bit quicker.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brian. I really hope that all the presentation that you have presented to us is going to be useful to those who are thinking to apply to become a chiropractic doctor. So one of the questions that I see in the chat, and we've got during the presentation. So it's from Hussein, and he said that I am a student in the 9th grade. I want to study this major in USA. Is this possible? So I think at this moment it's just the preparation process, but if you can just give us some hint ups, I think it's a good question. So just for those who are, thinking about this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So 9th grade, you're still, you're just starting high school. So your first step is to kind of get through high school first. But once you have completed high school, then you're going to be applying for an undergraduate program or a bachelor's program. And that's where you're going to want to focus again on any degree programs that are within the life sciences field. So if you want to study like biology or anatomy or chemistry or anything related to the health sciences, that's what you're going to want to do, since for a Doctor of Chiropractic, you do need a lot of courses within that field. So that would be your best option. You could technically do like a business degree and then have a lot of your electives be health sciences, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would definitely say choose one of those degrees that are within that field.
Okay, that's good to know. And then we will switch to the questions that we got before the webinar, because you guys have the opportunity to share your questions via the registration link before the start of the webinar. So please use this opportunity. And one of the questions was, after graduating from a chiropractic program, are there specific licensing requirements in the US or other countries for international students? How long does it take to get licensed? I think we can also point out here the transfer students, because, for example, we can consider here a student coming from, let's say, Eastern Europe or Central Asia that would like to, continue his studies and become a chiropractic doctor in the United States and continue with his master or with his doctoral degree. What can you advise here, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, there's kind of two parts to that question. We'll first address it as like a transfer student. So if, say, you are in another country and you've already started a Doctor of Chiropractic program and want to transfer then to a U.S. institution. So depending on the university, they will accept a certain number of transfer credits, right? I believe for us, we accept a lot of transfer credits. Up to about 2 years of transfer credits. But that's just maybe unique just to us. Other schools might limit it to maybe only 21 credits or, only a semester's worth. So that's something that you will want to research. If you've completed a majority of your program already, it might be best to just complete it in your home country then, because you may not be able to transfer a lot, and then you'll be spending more money again, just repeating some of that coursework. Right? But if you can transfer it in, then it's no different as if you started the program with us from year one. Right. And then in terms of your licensing, it really just depends on where you want to practice. So as I said, if you're going to be practicing in the US, you need to pass about 4 exams. During our program, you will complete all 4 of those exams by the time you graduate. So upon graduation, you are ready to go. You are licensed. Well, you're licensed given that you pass those exams. So you will be ready to go once you graduate. Same thing in Canada. They require less exams. They require only 3 of the 4. So again, once you finish our program, you'll be ready to go in Canada if that's where you choose to practice. Each country is going to be a little bit different, though. As I mentioned before, you may not even need to get a full license. Some countries will just require that you have the degree completed, right? Other countries may require that you have the degree completed and you have more supervised hours. So although we may require, say, 2,000 hours of supervision of clinical work, another country may require that you have 10,000 hours. So if that's the case, that would be something that you would have to, figure out before applying and make sure that our program is designed to meet those requirements, or you have a plan in place for after you graduate, how you're going to earn those remaining hours in your home country.
Thank you so much on answering on that one. I think you've covered mostly all the questions that we've got actually before the start of the webinar, because you already answered about the TOEFL, IELTS, and English proficiency tests, and you've also covered the conditions for the transfer students, because we might have a lot of them who would be interested, to transfer from from their bachelor degree, let's say, doing it here in their home country, and switching to studies in the US. And there is one more, and I think you've covered this one, but are there opportunities for international students to complete internships or clinical training abroad as part of their chiropractic education? And I think you already answered this one.
Yeah, so I did mention this, but I'll happily highlight it again. So in the final 3 quarters, so quarter 10, 11, and 12, which is heavily, clinical work, a lot of internships, a lot of that hands-on practical experience. Because of that, and since you're not taking many courses, we do allow students to complete that portion in their home country, which is also just great in the sense of building that relationship and that network within where you want to practice, right? I mean, it obviously is great to build your network in other countries and just learn from, have a different cultural perspective about how they take this approach. But wherever you want to practice, I think it's best to do those final internships in that home country. So you are able to do that, in which case the remaining courses that you have, which are just a few, you can take remotely online. So it shouldn't be too big of a problem. And in terms of the online study, it would be asynchronous. So I know some of you are 12, 13, 14, 15 hours ahead of us here in the US. So that won't be a problem. Our online classes are not live lectures. They are done on a weekly module basis. And then there are opportunities to meet with the faculty one-on-one throughout that week if you do have more personalized questions. So the answer to that is yes.
Perfectly. Thank you so much on covering all those. I think I have nothing to ask more. We've covered mostly all of them. And thank you so much for the details you've brought up during this presentation. You guys, if you have some other question, if you'll have the chance to watch this video after Brian has submitted the email and the phone number, the WhatsApp phone number, and yeah, you can reach them yourself in case if you are still interested to apply. Other than that, I wish you a great evening to everyone. Please stay tuned to our events for the whole month of February, because we have a bunch of other events which are dedicated to programs. And here is a QR code on our screen, and you can browse our website for the agenda on our February webinars. Please submit your questions for all of them, because it's going to be much easier for us to prepare, the answers like we did with Brian. And thank you once again, Brian, for participating in our today's webinar. I appreciate your experience and your presentation that you have prepared for us. So I wish you a great evening to everyone, and thank you so much, Brian, once again.
Thank you for having us. Everyone have a great evening.